Thank you for considering Moynihan Station for an AISC award. This project was the conversion of an old post office on 8th Avenue into an extension of Penn Station. It recreated a grand entrance into New York City for Amtrak passengers. We can't talk about Moynihan Station without talking about Old Penn Station, which was opened in 1910 and demolished in 1963 to make way for Madison Square Garden and Two Penn Plaza. The original station was a grand station built at the turn of the century by architects McKim, Mead, and White. It had high vaulting skylights over a grand concourse, and all of the tracks were below the streets and below grade. Ridership was down, and Amtrak needed money. So they decided to sell the development rights above grade to Penn Station and take down the old station. Well, there was a public outcry over this, and though they weren't successful in stopping this redevelopment, they were successful in starting landmarks preservation across the U.S. From this bird's eye view, you can see on the right Madison Square Garden and Two Penn Plaza, which sit on Penn Station. And on the left, you can see the old post office on the west side of 8th Avenue. And all the tracks heading east that go into Penn Station cross under the post office. And the old post office was also a McKim, Mead, and White building that was opened in 1912, so it had the same grandeur as the old Penn Station. The overall project is a 5-story superblock from 31st to 33rd Street and 8th to 9th Avenue. The original building was 1.9 million square feet, and 550,000 square feet, about 30% of the total, were either removed, added, or significantly altered. This was a major redevelopment. The original building had about 15,000 tons of steel. For this project, 1,000 tons were removed, 4,000 tons were modified, and 6,000 tons were added. The Moynihan Train Hall was definitely a major focus for the project, and you can see how it sits above the platforms and the tracks that were going into Penn Station. The 8th Avenue end of the old post office is named after Postmaster James A. Farley. In the middle of the post office was the old mail sorting room, which was a wide open space lit with skylights from above. And it created a volume which was used to create the train hall. There were 3 phases in the project, so we'll start with phase 1, which was the West End concourse. You can see it in cross-section in the lower right-hand corner of this image. It's located below the post office and above the trains. And you can see here a plan of it. Basically, the upper right quarter of it was the original West End concourse. So when it was expanded, it was doubled in width and doubled in length. When you're designing below grade around trains, you're not just worried about the shape of the train, you're worried about how it moves. And that can be vertically, that can be horizontally, that can be rock. You can see from this drawing that the structure for the West End concourse had to be shoehorned in around the dynamic envelope of the trains. In order for the West End concourse to be constructed, there was quite a bit of demolition that had to occur, both removing slabs to create access down to it and taking things out of the way that were in the way. To move things out of the way, girders, columns, and foundations needed to be reinforced, and columns also needed to be transferred. Columns and girders removed, columns shifted, floors removed and ramps installed, and the concourse framed. The finished phase includes new 8th Avenue entrances, new escalators and stairs going down to the West End concourse, the actual West End concourse extending over all the platforms and tracks, and new stairs and elevators taking you from the West End concourse down to the platforms. Now we're at phase 2, Moynihan Train Hall, and that's really the glamorous part of the project. That is the main train hall that everybody sees in the photos. And the original space was actually 2 stories above the trains, not 1 story above the trains. So the first floor had to be demolished first in order for the train hall to get its full height. And so the mail sorting room demolition all of the first floor had to be taken out. And when it was taken out, you finally saw the grandeur that the train hall would be when it would finally be finished. To put in a new skylight, the existing original skylights had to be removed. The heavy black line in this rendering is representative of what was the original skylights, which were just basically installed planar with the top of the trusses which spanned over the mail sorting room. In order to get the higher, more billowy effect of the skylights, everything between the trusses and the skylights themselves had to be removed. Taking out the skylights themselves wasn't so difficult, but taking out all the structure in between the trusses and leaving them unbraced was a real challenge. And in order to do that, new truss reinforcement was put on the top chord. Some 2-foot by 3-foot box sections of 4-inch plate were added to the top chord of each truss. You can see here that the boxes were welded together with partial penetration welds. And here you can see them installed and the trusses freestanding with nothing between them. On to the skylights. I want to credit Schlage-Bergman Partners here with their design work on the skylights themselves. They did a fantastic job. And as you can see, to install them, there was an extensive false work that had to be built within the train hall. Similar to the West End Concourse, the main train hall required removals, reinforcements, and transfers. Beams had to be opened up and exposed. Removals had to be made, and new transfer girders were installed. This was partially for the escalator installations, which were slotted down through existing transfer girders into the train shed and onto the platforms. And just a few shots of the finished train hall. The Intermodal mid-block hall connects the train hall to entrances on 31st and 33rd Streets. It was located where the original loading dock was. That was all removed during this reconstruction and replaced with a skylight and retail atrium. And finally, Phase 3, which was the commercial portion of the development and included about 75% of the square footage. It's the western 2/3 of the building. The first floor is retail program, and the 2nd through 5th floors are office program. And the 5th floor has an exterior terrace that wraps all the way around the building. It included a skylight and stair in the office portion, which worked as an atrium. An exterior terrace wraps the entire 5th floor of the superblock. The 5th floor setback was just a roof, so it didn't have the capacity for landscaping. So we redesigned the slab and we reinforced the steel to support the new loads. The 5th floor terrace also includes an exterior pavilion for entertaining. We would like to thank the State of New York, Governor Hochul, the Empire State Development Corporation, Amtrak, MTA, and the Long Island Railroad. Vornado Realty Trust, the related companies, Skanska, Crystal Steel Fabricators, Crystal Steel Metalworks, L&M Fabrication and Machine, Anatomic Iron Steel Detailing, International Design Services Incorporated, Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, Schlage-Bergman Partner, Jaros, Baum & Bowles, Langen, and many other consultants and contractors. And thank you to the American Institute of Steel Construction for their consideration of this exceptional project.